Okay, there is one more change too, just under, also on page 1, and it might carry to page 2, but yeah, just, and you can tell them about, just the votes where it said 6 votes, a 7, and it was actually, should have been 6-0, because Shelley was absent, so it really wasn't 7 members, so. So those, everyone where that says 6-7 will be corrected. So your motion is to accept the minutes as corrected, is that what you guys made?
As corrected.
We're going to address the other issue of the December 23rd and December 16th dates.
I will have Mr. Gilder explain in just one moment.
Okay.
The motion was to accept the minutes with corrections for November 25th. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, Mr. Gilder, would you address the open meetings question that we've had for this evening?
Sure. I was called on my way over here, and I was told that the meeting was originally noticed up for December 23rd, that I don't know when, but the board had met and decided to change it to the 16th. That notice of the meeting was given, all of you were given their packets, but that the 23rd still showed up on the marquee or a sign or something out front. So I was asked, what impact would that have on this meeting? If we had showed up here tonight and no one was present, I would say I think there's a problem. Word did not get out, and the rights of the public were prejudiced. Showing up in what I would call a typical, if not a large crowd, makes me think that the word certainly got out. Now, there may be, on matters that require a public hearing, then that's a different issue. But in terms of just this meeting itself, the board met, the board changed it, and I don't see a problem in that respect.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. And that was done at the November 25th meeting. Okay, additions to the agenda. I have one under G, under new business, will be canceled, stricken from the agenda. And under new business, G was the treasurer's letter, which the treasurer isn't here to present her letter tonight, so that will be done in January. And 11331 North Genesee Road will be moved to number 1 before A under new business. And in addition to the bills of one bill for IG right to bills to be paid. That's the changes I have to the agenda. Make the motion that we change the agenda to that, and I get a second for that. No support. All in favor of the agenda with the changes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Stricken again. We'll move on to the supervisor's report. The roads have been taken care of for the year. They will be switching over to winter projects. They're still patching roads because the asphalt plant is still open, so that will cease as soon as it closes. And be going roads and bridges again tomorrow. We'll move on to the treasurer's report. The treasurer is here.
Mr. Supervisor, point of information.
Pardon me?
Point of information.
Point of order. We are running through this agenda.
I am wondering why the agenda has been changed without a vote
Would
of
you
the board.
please take your seat?
No, I will say what I'm saying.
Point
If I'm
of
thrown
order.
out, I'm thrown
Point
out.
of order. sir.
Point of information. Point of information. Our board has adopted how the meeting is supposed to be run. We are supposed to have 3 public comments, 3 minutes for each resident.
3 public comments, I
on
think you're
agenda
wrong
items only at first, followed by, at the end of the meeting, 3 public comments after business. If you want to eliminate one of them, I would wish it would be the last one, because your residents have a voice to speak on what business is gonna be conducted before this board tonight. And you are violating our adopted regular schedule of our meeting agenda.
Mr. Fielder?
Is this not my agenda that we're talking about today?
Meeting rules.
What was the issue about the public comment? Because on my agenda, I see public comment is number 5, and then at the end of the meeting.
I don't have one as number 5.
Roman numeral 5?
Roman numeral 5 on everyone else's supervisor report. You have a regular agenda. So, and I have not missed a meeting, and the board didn't vote to change the agenda of the township. Last meeting, if you recall, I got up and spoke about how you personally had changed the rural meetings without a vote of the board, and added information to that, again,
This is not allowed.
without a vote of the board.
That's deliberation violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Mr.
Secret.
Supervisor, can we make that in addition to the agenda, to give them their public comments to the agenda?
I guess if there's 2 conflicting agendas, we should probably go with what's on, what the attorney has.
It's interesting to me that the attorney has a different agenda than the board
I
members.
agree.
Michael, stop this bullshit, will you?
You should probably amend your additions to the agenda to include public comments and whoever supported it. You should do that as well. If you want to do that, you want to,
What you supported, I will amend it.
okay, then I'll amend mine to
Public
include the
comments.
public comments,
Number 5.
wherever it's supposed to be. Just what's there.
It's supposed to be before the supervisor's report.
Yes. Okay.
That's amended. All in favor of the change, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say no.
No.
We'll open the public comments for 3 minutes each
Cindy
on
Hicks.
agenda items.
Cindy Hicks, Genesee Road, Thetford Township.
Just a second.
Theo, can you take your camera and go over to the side, not be in front of the audience?
Cindy Hicks, Genesee Road, Thetford Township. I have issues with the actions that have been taken by the supervisor in canceling all of the scheduled or not scheduled yet public input sessions on the recreational marijuana for Thetford Township. The resolution that the board voted on October 28th was then changed to an ordinance, and the ordinance that I FOIA'd from the clerk said that it would take effect, the 60-day opt-out would take effect the day following publication. This ordinance has never been published to date. My real problem with it is we had a workshop up here that a trustee requested. We got up here to the workshop, and the trustees no longer have access to the rec hall. So we had 3 trustees here with no keys to get in. There was contact made with the clerk. She came up and unlocked the rec hall door for us, but not before she screamed, "Everybody out. You're all going to be arrested for criminal trespass. This is an illegal meeting." Now, I see her face up there, but be aware that Channel 12 did have audio running. I think 25 probably did too. So everybody heard it. Many people in the audience right here heard it. Now, following that, talking to the supervisor a few days later, after he had canceled the upcoming public input sessions, he told me that he would not allow us to have any public input workshops with all of the bickering that went on at that original workshop. Now, the whole workshop was filmed by 25, 66, and 12. There was no bickering. I am having quite a problem with the things that are being done at the township in secret. Closed, secret meetings. I don't even believe that our attorney is even being told the truth. And I'm pretty sure that the board members aren't being told what the attorney says. I highly recommend that you, as a board, anytime a board member speaks with the attorney, it needs to be reduced into a memo so that everyone knows what is going on. I hear my time is up.
Thank you.
Stacy Masters, Ann Road, Thetford Township. Meeting minutes adopted at the November board meeting from the October 28th meeting reflect a plethora of errors and inconsistencies and irregularities. There's proof of intent to defraud, and they were produced with laziness and unprofessionalism. A few examples were the closed session on October 28th. There's no mention of closed session in the minutes. Yet anyone who was present can attest that there was in fact a closed session. Personal opinions instead of facts are given throughout these minutes. A motion made by the clerk, then noted to be not heard by the same clerk because of audience discussion. She didn't know her own motion. Since it's been established that the clerk is unable to produce accurate records and the board is not reliable enough to make proper corrections to said public records before they are adopted, a motion to instruct Clerk Moore to research and form a plan to implement professional video recording of township board meetings using PEG funds or other means by January 20th, and to provide a link to such public records on the township website should be made. I provided a warning to township attorney December 6th prior to adoption of said minutes. Gildner informed me that he would absolutely pass the information on to the township. It was a very pleasant conversation, yet Mr. Gildner kindly informed me that he can advise the board, but cannot make them take action. My guess is that it was passed on to Gary and Nicole, and that information was not shared with the rest of the board. Which brings me to my next point of order. In order for the board to make proper and informed decisions, I believe when the taxpayers fund legal counsel, each board member should be afforded the wealth of the information. Therefore, a motion should be made that each time there is legal counsel, a document should be transcribed as to the information and shared with the entire board. I believe this is the root of many bad decisions made by the board and against attorney advice. Do I still have time?
Sure.
Finish her up there.
Mr. Supervisor, pursuant to Township Board Rules, Section 14.1.3, I hereby request extra time as a subdivision representative to speak on behalf of the people in the Green Triangle neighborhood area. I'm waiting for your response.
Start.
May I have 10 minutes to speak pursuant to your board rules, sir?
You have to come in and discuss your position as.
14.1.3 of your board rules specify that any person requesting, that's
Any
my.
person,
I'm speaking.
any person, is that what you're saying?
Any person,
Go for
read
your-
the
Go
rules.
for your 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir. I want to advise everyone on this board that should you decide to stay here, perhaps you should ask your attorney whether or not, if this is ruled as a deliberate violation of the Open Meetings Act, 15.272, you are all individually liable for this 1-year misdemeanor, $1,000 fine. We intend to hold you to this. We will seek a writ. We will get this meeting invalidated. If you intend to pass this ordinance, this illegal ordinance, without any notice, for a meeting that you did not publish, and you did not comply with 15.265 sub 3, which requires that within 3 days of rescheduling this meeting, you must properly post it on the door. The website is icing, the cake is the door. You missed that. I was here at 8 a.m. The clerk could have repaired the situation by having the meeting posted by 12:30 a.m. last night as an 18-hour special notice. Failed to do that. I've also have evidence in this meeting alone of at least a quorum of this board deliberating secretly, not in a public meeting, 4 of you or 3 of you up there talking. In case you weren't aware, that's illegal too. There's another law I'd like to make you aware of, MCL 750 or 707.750. This is a 1 year, this is a felony, and this is malfeasance in office. The fraud that was conducted after the 10/28 meeting was sending in a fake post facto doctored ordinance without prior publication or post-publication is an illegal act. Both Clerk Moore and Supervisor Stevens will be held for that. Finally, and most outrageously, I can't believe it, that there's been no action by anyone on this board to repudiate the recent revelation that there was a motion made back in February of 2017. I thank resident Kevin Lawrence for making me aware of this. I apologize that I was not aware earlier. I would have made a big issue of that. This board passed a resolution, now get this, granting charter township powers to the supervisor by a resolution. I never heard of such a thing, Mr. Gilder, never. I believe that certainly qualifies as abuse of power under the state law. I don't believe that you have home rule authority. A general law township draws their powers from the state constitution, and you can only exercise your powers as a board. This is a body corporate. The people of this township are the township. This board represents the township. Supervisor cannot make arbitrary, capricious decisions on his own outside the law, and you certainly can't grant yourself charter township powers without following through on the charter township regulations to incorporate yourself as a charter township. So now that you know these things, continuing on and not repudiating it, to me, as my wife would say, res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. Thank you.
Richard Russell, Lake Road, Thetford Township. First off, I would request that Attorney Gilder, in the future, please speak into the microphone so everybody can hear you, because it's hard hearing what you're saying. Looking at this agenda here, I find it more than questionable the fact that on your agenda, I see nothing about the mention of how Officer Drinkwine was fired. Just days after the supervisor signed the union card. That happens to be a flat case of union busting, and there's federal charges for that. But you didn't want to talk about it. Well, I can understand why you wouldn't want to make it public notice. It's okay. But you don't want to talk about it, so, and as you've stated more than once, that this is not a question and answer period. I'd like to thank Cindy Hicks for standing her ground and giving us the opportunity to talk about this agenda, which is more than right. Thank you.
Greg?
Greg Bryant, you all know where I live. Couple of things. First of all, Mr. Gilson, I tangled a few meetings ago, and I found out, much to my chagrin, one of the things that we tangled about, I was totally and absolutely wrong, and for that I'll apologize publicly.
Well, if it's any consolation, I don't know what we tangled about, so.
Okay, couple of questions. The deficit plan in regards to the audits, I understand there were 4 areas of deficit or 4 areas that were a problem that required a written solution and implementation by the state of Michigan. Have any of those other than the senior center plan been drawn up or implemented yet? The particular area that Theo had been referring to, and I believe Cindy did as well, MCL 359, which defines general and charter authorities in the township. When you folks did this, I warned you, you cannot legally operate as a chartered township unless you have incorporated that township. That then gives you the power to do that. As far as I know, since 1842, this township's never been incorporated. If it has, it's best kept secret since Washington. So, you got warned about that one quite a while ago. If somebody pushes the issue, well, you can't blame ignorance on that one. Now, I'm going to assume that number 9 on the list of bills is actually a mistake. Why would we be paying Miss Dig $1,026.27? Miss Dig is free, both to municipalities and residents. Now, I realize that your treasurer is not here, so that's a difficult one for you to answer. Is that a mistake or what?
No, it's a bill that they send.
I'm sorry, go
It's a
ahead.
bill that they send once a year to the township, and it's like membership fees and that sort of thing. It's all detailed out on the bill what it's for. But
Okay,
they send-
so that's membership fees
Yes,
and
they
things
send
like
it
that.
yearly to the township, and the township's obligated. If not, then if something were to happen within the township or whatever, they are charged the full-on rate, this is what I was told
The
today.
residents won't be able to use that service if you don't get in the group. So when you call Miss Dig, they're just gonna bill you.
Time is up.
Well, it could be up, but I'm not done.
Time's up.
$4,562.50.
This is comment
Point
time,
Moran.
not question and answer time.
I don't really care what you say, Gary.
No, I know
So
that.
blow it out your rear.
Yeah.
$4,562.50.
Point of order.
To Plant Moran. Is that your new
3
favorite
minutes.
catchphrase?
It's fair for everyone to have 3 minutes, unless you're the president of North Morris too.
Are you done? Are you gonna answer the question, or are you gonna sit there and fluff your
No,
feathers?
your time is up.
Okay, in other words, you don't know the answer, right?
Your time is up.
Okay, you don't know the answer.
You don't, your time is
Okay,
up.
you don't know the answer.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Page. I am a member of Lakewood Baptist Church. 1973. If this is anything to do, this is anything to do with the recreational marijuana, I'm against it. In 1973, I started smoking marijuana. And pardon me?
Let's get a little closer to the mic.
In 1973, I started smoking marijuana. And it progressively got worse. I kept adding more to it. I was doing all kinds of drugs. I think it was just an open door for things worse. By God's grace, in 1985, He saved me. He took that stuff out of my life. I raised 2 daughters, about the age of a couple people here right now. had a tough time trying to keep this stuff out of my daughter's lives. I think I did. Now I have 2 grandsons. We have 3 young boys coming to our church, ages 6, 7, and 8. I know what's going on, in our area, and if it's any consolation, this is more of a plead. I would love to see recreational marijuana stopped, if we possibly can. Or if it can't, can we keep it within a certain distance of a church? When I'm over there mowing, I can smell it. It's coming from nearby. My grandkids come over there and they help me weed whip and mow the property. I don't need that stuff around. I know what it does to people's lives. I know what it done to my life. But I'm just thankful for God's grace that He took the stuff out of my life. That's my plea.
Thank you.
Dixie Smith, Saginaw Road. I'm here to speak to the proposed marijuana ordinance that's in the packet. Banning recreational marijuana actually, and for 2 reasons. A, I don't have a dog in this hunt, if you would. I don't use, don't plan to use, don't plan to manufacture or sell. However, it's state legal. The majority of the people in this township chose to vote yes for recreational marijuana. And we can, the township can get needed funds through not only the fees, but also through the taxes once the state gets their share of this, and take advantage of this. And if we don't want to authorize in the initial year people who don't currently have a rec marijuana facility or whatever, or a medical marijuana facility or whatever, I understand that. But to disallow it entirely in the township just doesn't make fiscal sense. That money could provide a lot of things for the residents of this township, and I think it's very, very short-sighted to ban recreational sales within the township. People are gonna get it somewhere, and why not let it be at home? That's it.
Thank you.
My name is Doug Armstrong. I am pastor of Lake Road Baptist Church. I live in Mountain Horse Township. My church is on the corner of Lake and Lewis Road. I'm very concerned about the recreational marijuana. I stand against it. You can give me all the arguments that you want to give, and you will not convince me that it's beneficial. I've seen too many people who've had their lives ruined by this. I want you to know that God holds us accountable. And all of you are going to vote. I don't know how you're going to vote. That's up to you. That's your freedom. It may not be any time in this life, but one day you will have to stand before Him and you'll have to face Him. I think you're on the verge of ruining a lot of lives, a lot of families, and the area in which you're in. I don't know how you're going to vote on the recreational, but I would like to remind you from some of the minutes before April the 23rd, 2018, you approved an amendment to create a drug-free zone surrounding daycare, parks, or churches by 500 feet. One of you made the statement, I don't care what the churches think. That's okay. A lot of my church members are gonna vote. And then, ordinance, I think this is probably the same thing, but I just want to repeat it again. Ordinance 2018-4001. Drug-free zone means an area surrounding a school or library by 1,000 feet, or a daycare, church, and park by 500 feet. And I respectfully ask you, when you vote for this ordinance, if you do vote it in, that you will keep this part of the ordinance there. And it would be, I think, a great help to churches, daycare, everything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is no one else wishing to,
You go right ahead.
I mean, I get a second opportunity after everyone is done. Cindy Hicks, Thetford Township. I too am a Christian. I was raised in the church. I'm a Lutheran. I was baptized, attended catechism. I believe. I did not smoke marijuana for 30 years. I was diagnosed with MS in 2002. My husband passed away in 2009, bringing on kind of a hard time with the MS. In 2010, my oldest sister encouraged me to try medical marijuana. I have severe stenosis in my lower back, which caused extremely painful neuropathy, burning, 24/7, 365. I did not want to smoke marijuana, but I tried it. After a period of 3 weeks of me having to lock myself in the bedroom because I was paranoid, the burning abated. I am now on 1/4 of the medication that I was on for the neuropathy issue and the severe stenosis in my back. So, again, as a Christian woman, I think God gave us this plan. But that's neither here nor there. I just felt like I should address that. My next comments are mostly going to be made because the attorney is here. I don't know Mr. Gilner. It sure is different when you're here. I would call you the real attorney because things are different when Chris is here. I'm talking about, again, the meeting minutes of October 28th of this year. I don't know if you've seen them. If you haven't, I recommend you take a look at them, because not only do they not talk about the closed session, I mean, there's nothing in there. So I know that they went into closed session because I was here and I take notes. My understanding of the law is when the board has to go into closed session, they're to report what cases or what, whether it's a personnel issue, just so that the residents know what's going on. That wasn't done. Bear in mind that Attorney Chris was here. When they came out of closed session, they failed to close the meeting, whatever. They failed to come back out and reopen the meeting. And I don't think that's a 3-minute timer going on. Somebody timed you and said it was 2 minutes.
2 minutes and 4 seconds.
2 minutes, 4 seconds. This is what we deal with all the time up here. Michael, you know that I sat on the board from 2004 to 2008. Our residents were never treated this poorly. To be threatened with arrest for trying to get public input on a huge issue, to have, let me read this right here, just so for the people that don't have the copy of these October 28th minutes. Motion made, Clerk Moore. Support, Trustee Stevens. A lot of audience discussion going on, hard to hear what was being discussed on behalf of the board, so another motion was made. Eric was asked if he had anything to gain personally regarding this ordinance. Before he voted, he stated no. Done. Again, the motion that was made is not reflected in the minutes. So we move on to motion made, trustee Picnic, support Supervisor Stevens. Again, the motion is not reflected in the minutes. It says, after discussion, trustee Picnic amended the motion. What motion, I don't really know, but he amended the motion to have a 60-day statute placed on the resolution pending discussion of rules and regulations pertaining to the Township of Thetford, thus to temporarily opt out of recreational marijuana by November 1st, 2019 at this time. Wow. I couldn't tell you what the motion was. I was sitting in the audience and I saw what happened. The clerk made a motion, the supervisor supported it, discussion started, and then they forgot they made a motion. My problem with this is, this was reflected as a resolution. When I FOIA'd the information on November 15th, not being able to receive it, I did come up last week and get it, and it had an ordinance number on it. I thought that you had to have a public hearing to pass an ordinance for your residents. Mr. Gellner walked in 5 minutes to 3, standing there. He went on through to get a cup of coffee. It was early for the meeting. I said to the supervisor, look at this paper that says it's an ordinance, and it doesn't have a date on it. It says October and then just a blank spot. It was never published. There were no public hearings for it. And the first thing that Supervisor Stevens responded to me with was, well, Mike Gildner said that was okay to do it that way. Now, I've known Mike Gildner for 20 plus years, around 20. I don't believe that. So again, I'm just really strongly feeling that there is some collusion going on, intent to defraud or keep in the dark members of this board, because information is not being able to be obtained by the residents. Whether you FOIA, don't FOIA, you don't get it.
Your 5 minutes is
I
up.
still have an outstanding FOIA from November 1st, 2019, where I FOIA'd the checkbook register for the township. This is something that is to be put in the board packet every month, and a correct revenue and expenditure report. The trustees are not getting this information. Our township is being placed in great risk over some of these issues. And I'm still not finished with the recreational marijuana, because we have been asking, I say we, several people in this room have been asking you, Mr. Supervisor, to form a committee just like we did with the medical marijuana. And you refused to do it. You would not put it on the agenda. And now, a whole year has
Point of
passed.
order. I think we need to go to recess.
I agree. Take a 20-minute recess.
20-minute recess. Is it too hard to hear what your residents are concerned about? Because
One resident, Cindy.
No,
I don't hear them all.
If I'm just speaking for myself, at least I'm a resident. Oh, I am, if I'm just speaking for myself. Nobody in this room agrees with me, right? You're very
You can have my 3 minutes.
You're very argumentative with the
We're gonna take
residents.
a recess.
You can have my 3
Don't you
minutes.
think you need a motion, a support, and a vote to take a recess, Mr. Supervisor? Please
Can't
follow the
deliberate.
law.
Recess for 10 minutes.
Can't deliberate in
Please follow
secret.
the law.
Better not be talking back there.
Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Supervisor, is there a motion for recess?
Yes, I made the motion for
Is there a
recess.
second?
And how long was that, Mr. Supervisor?
10 minutes. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed, say no. Carried.
No.
Now we should have made the call.
The only thing you know how to run, Jeff?
can't talk back there.
Rachel, we have stuff to talk about anyway.
Sit there and argue, sit there and ignore it.
So when you say recess, you mean go in the back?
No, exactly.
No, I got